My best friend faked having cancer for sympathy and money, so I exposed her and ruined her reputation. She made up lies about me and exposed me back, so I took everything from her. My ex-best friend came into school one day bald, and that she was the center of attention. During the first period, she gave a speech filled with crocodile tears about how she has cancer and how doctors aren't sure if she'll survive. She ended the speech by giving us her PayPal details and showing the GoFundMe account she set up. Of course, everyone quickly rallied behind her, and as her best friend, I personally started organizing fundraisers. I truly thought we were making a difference, but then one night she confessed to me. She never had cancer and was only doing this for money. Hearing this was like a punch to the gut, and I truly tried to keep her secret at first, but I just couldn't. The guilt was too much, and so I secretly audio recorded our next conversation. I leaked it to the entire school the next day, and the backlash was immediate and extreme. Her GoFundMe account was frozen, she was kicked out of our friend group, her locker was vandalized, and even the teachers openly showed their disgust towards her. She became erratic and started trying to bring me down with her by exposing me for being in on the scam from the start. She started sharing fake screenshots of me agreeing to it and started ruining my reputation. It was extremely hard at first. I had people coming up to me in school being very passive-aggressive towards me. They would tell me they knew what I did and call me just as bad as her. I knew I had to save my reputation to do that, and in order to do that, I had to finish what I started. I handed over text messages, screenshots, and every bit of proof I had where she had admitted to the whole scam. In one of the texts, she actually joked about how easy it was to fool everyone. She joked that even her grandchildren would never have to worry about any debt because her tuition was paid in full, like this was all some kind of game to her. I thought that was that, and the situation had been fully resolved, but unfortunately Lily wasn't done. I'm not sure how she ended up with this connection, but she went on local news. She sat there, looking all sad and innocent, crying on camera and claiming I had lied about everything out of jealousy. She told the reporter that I had been envious of all the attention she was getting, and that's why I made up the screenshots to ruin her life. Some people actually bought her crocodile tears. The comments online were brutal. At first, most people were calling her out, but after the interview, the comments shifted completely. People started saying things like, "What if she's telling the truth?" Or, "It sounds like her friend might actually be the one lying." Total strangers who didn't even know either of us were taking sides. It wasn't just the school I had to deal with anymore. Now, it felt like half the internet was against me too. The whole town was split down the middle. Some people believed Lily's teary-eyed performance on the news. Others knew the truth. They stood by me, but it didn't feel like enough. School was a nightmare. The kids who sided with Lily started making my life hell. They whispered about me in the hallways, sent me hateful messages, and even made cruel jokes during class. I'd find notes in my locker. They would call me a loser, or say that I should just admit that I was lying. It felt like everyone had picked a side, and most of them weren't on mine. I was completely alone. Friends who used to have my back suddenly avoided me. I knew they were afraid of being caught in the middle. Even the teachers seemed to tiptoe around the situation like they didn't want to get involved. And Lily acted like she had already won. She walked around school with this smug expression, surrounded by people who believed her and soaked up the attention. I could see it in her eyes. She thought she was untouchable. She would also talk about how she would feel weak some days because she said she had recently had chemo, and people would bring her plenty of gifts to school. They showered her with money and food. One girl even gave her a new designer purse. Her mom said that she wanted her to have it and thought it would be nice to have it since tomorrow was never promised. It seemed pretty rude at the time to tell her that she basically only gave it to her because she was going to die, but I wouldn't care. So I'm sure Lily didn't since she was faking the whole thing anyway. Nevertheless, I would have killed for that bag. After days of isolation, I knew I had to do something. Something in me couldn't let it go. I knew I had to keep digging because the truth was right there. One night, I stayed up late, combing through every bit of social media I could find. I looked at the GoFundMe updates, her posts, and even old comments. That's when I found it. The photos she'd posted after her diagnosis. There she was, posing in brand new designer clothes. Louis Vuitton, Gucci, you name it, she had it. And then there were the vacation photos. Just weeks after she had told everyone she was going through chemo, there she was, sunbathing at some tropical resort, laughing with friends. She'd been spending the donation money. Thousands of dollars meant to cover medical bills were going straight into her wardrobe and travel plans. I couldn't believe how careless she'd been. It was all right there, plain as day. In photos she thought no one would ever connect to the scam. I saved every single screenshot and every post. I had solid proof. And this time, there was no way Lily could spin it. No amount of tears or lies could cover up the fact that she had stolen from everyone who had tried to help her. With all the evidence in hand, I knew I was ready to expose her, for real, this time. The next day, I leaked the photos, screenshots, and financial records that showed how Lily had spent the GoFundMe money on designer clothes and a luxury vacation. It didn't take long for the local news to pick up the story. I knew she couldn't deny it this time. I had done the calculations for her vacations, and the amount of the GoFundMe matched up perfectly. Not a single dime was spent on her chemo because it was funding her next flight to Turks and Caicos. This time, time, there were no tears or excuses Lily could use to wiggle her way out. The evidence was undeniable. They ran the headline, "Local Student Exposed for Faking Cancer to Scam School Community." The fallout was instant. People who had defended Lily were furious. Parents, students, and teachers who had donated to her fund felt betrayed. It spread like wildfire, and soon, the entire town knew what she had done. The school, which had stayed quiet up until this point, couldn't ignore it anymore. They expelled her immediately, but it didn't stop there. News of the scam reached the college she had been accepted to. They revoked her acceptance. They even gave a public announcement saying they wouldn't tolerate someone who had faked cancer for financial gain. Everything she'd lied and cheated for was gone in an instant. Lily had gone from being the center of attention to a complete outcast. And this time, there was no comeback. Until, in one final, desperate move, Lily tried to shift the blame. She claimed I was the mastermind behind the whole scam. She submitted fake messages to make it seem like I had been pulling the strings all along. She even went so far as to edit fake texts and twist the truth to make it look like I had orchestrated everything. She then told reporters that I had been jealous for years. She claimed I was upset because she didn't invite me on the trips or let me get in on the expensive gifts. She said I was only doing this because I was bitter. In all honesty, I was angry about not getting a free vacation or designer clothes because she was my best friend. I thought we would do everything together because that was how we'd always been. But now I didn't even recognize her. She even showed people fake texts in which she made it look like I was the one begging for money from her. For a brief moment, there was doubt. Some people actually started to wonder if maybe I was involved, but then one of our mutual friends, who had been quiet up until this point, came and spoke about the situation. She was someone who had been at a party with Lily and came forward with video footage. In the video, Lily was laughing, bragging about the whole scam, saying how easy it was to fool everyone. Lily looked intoxicated and didn't seem to remember the video, but the look on her face when she saw it was priceless. There was no denying it now. The footage spread online, and any shred of sympathy or doubt people had for her vanished instantly. The next few days, people apologized for doubting me, and the stolen money was recovered through legal means. It was donated to a real cancer charity, helping those who actually needed it. Lily's life was in ruins, her reputation was destroyed, and she is now facing legal consequences. As for me, after everything I had endured, I finally came out on top. I gained the respect and support of plenty of people in my life and online because I stood by the truth, even when it felt like the whole world was against me. 6 months after everything came out on the news, the fallout from Lily's scam was still unraveling. During the court case, so much came out about Lily and why she faked cancer. I thought I had uncovered everything about Lily's scam until I stumbled across something that blew it all wide open. It started when I was going through the GoFundMe page again. I noticed something strange. It was an email linked to the campaign that didn't seem to belong to Lily. The email wasn't hers. It was her mom's. At first, I didn't understand why Lily's mom would be involved, but then everything started to click. I did some digging, and it turns out her parents had gone through a messy divorce. They'd kept it under wraps, but the financial strain was real. Her mom had been struggling to keep the house, and that's when it hit me. The cancer scam wasn't just for Lily's college tuition. Her mom was in on it too. She was desperate to save the house. They'd created this whole thing together and raked in the money to cover bills and avoid losing their home. When I confronted Lily, she didn't even deny it. She broke down and admitted that her mom had helped her every step of the way, from creating the fake diagnosis to setting up the GoFundMe. "We had no choice," she said. "We were going to lose everything." Lily and her mom were charged with fraud, and the legal consequences started piling up. The GoFundMe money, which had been frozen months earlier, was ordered to be repaid. Since they had already spent most of it on designer clothes, vacations, and house payments, the court mandated that everything they had bought with the stolen funds be liquidated. Lily's mom had to sell their house to cover the debt. What really hit hard was seeing the "for sale" sign go up in front of their home. They were forced to downsize, moving into a small apartment on the outskirts of town. The whole community knew what had happened, and no one had any sympathy left for them. Lily now had a criminal record hanging over her. Even community college seemed out of reach. For a brief moment, after everything that had happened, I almost felt bad for Lily. Watching her family lose their home and seeing her future crumble, it was hard not to feel something. Despite everything, she had been my best friend once, but that sympathy vanished the moment I got her message. "Remember when the school's servers mysteriously went down right before finals last year?" she wrote. "I know exactly why that happened." I froze. She wasn't just talking about some random technical glitch. She was talking about me, back when I was desperate. A few semesters ago, I was failing a class and about to lose my scholarship. I had panicked and found a way to hack into the school's system, thinking I'd only change my grade for that one class. I wasn't trying to crash the servers or cause chaos, just raise my failing grade to an A. I couldn't afford any more bad grades, not with my GPA hanging by a thread. But when the servers went down, I realized I'd gone way too far. The school never figured out what had happened, and I'd kept quiet, grateful that I didn't get caught. And now Lily was using it against me. She wasn't done. She She said she got proof and attached screenshots of the system changes. You wouldn't want your little secret getting out, would you? She texted. Imagine what our college would do if they found out about your little accident, academic dishonesty. You'd be kicked out in a heartbeat. So here's the deal. You give me $5,000 or I send this to the dean. She finished. I couldn't believe it. After everything she had done, she was blackmailing me. I stared at the message for what felt like hours. My heart pounded in my chest. I had worked hard for that money. I was saving up from long shifts, but now, because of one mistake, I was forced to give it all to Lily just to protect my future. In the end, I caved. I withdrew the $5,000 from my savings and sent it to her. I told myself it was the only way to make sure my life didn't spiral out of control, but the moment I hit send, I knew something had changed inside me. I wasn't scared of Lily anymore. I was angry. A week later, I received another message. Don't think this is over, Lily wrote. I'll need more soon. I always knew you'd pay. If I was going down, I was taking her with me. When it was all over, I got a lawyer involved, explaining the hacking incident and how it happened. I came clean about everything. Surprisingly, my honesty worked in my favor. The school punished me with academic probation, but they didn't kick me out. I'm assuming because of the fact that it was Lily who I was up against. They could see that I was genuinely trying to move past my mistake. As for Lily, her blackmail attempt backfired. She was arrested for extortion, and her involvement in the scam left her with no more chances. Any sympathy she might have earned vanished for good. I may have lost $5,000, but I gained my freedom back.